Have you registered for the baddest masterclass this side of heaven? It's not too late, but we kick off tonight. Tonight at 7 p.m. with our pre-masterclass UN-MASQUERADE BALL. So hurry, hurry, hurry and grab your seat at SuzetteSolutions.com. That's SuzetteSolutions.com. See you tonight. What if you knew you were enough? What would your life look like? What would love look like? This is the Enough Factor broadcast, where we're redefining what makes you enough in life and in love. Now here's your host, Suzette Virna. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my Enough Factor podcast. My name is Suzette Virna, and I'm your life coach, relationship solutionist, and the creator of the Love on Your Terms Masterclass. If you haven't registered, there's still time. You can grab your seat right now at bit.ly/love on your terms. I started to say love on my terms, right? But it's love on your terms. I look forward to seeing you. Well, if you're new, I want you to know what this podcast is all about. This podcast is specifically tailored to high-achieving women over 40 who struggle with their relationships. I help them to redefine what makes them enough in life and in love on their own terms, thereby helping them to break the cycle of failed relationships and attract real deal, healthy, great love into their lives. And with this podcast, I amplify what I've identified as 3 critical factors. I call them 3 critical factors of enoughness. They are your voice, your value, and your vision. Because I've learned this, y'all. When those are working in tandem, you tend to have a more fulfilling and invigorating, isn't that a great word, invigorating, experience of relationships. So today, I want to focus on something. I had created a social media poster that really hit me after I created it. And it said, masked pain won't heal. As soon as I did it, I knew I needed to do a podcast episode so that we could really unpack that. So here are 5 reasons why mask pain won't heal. You ready for it? Okay. If you don't have your journal, your paper, your pencil, this would be a great time to take notes, okay? The first reason is when you mask pain, you don't get to the bottom of the cause. Yet, as high-performing women, we put all our energies into beautifying the mask until the problems become so intrusive that we can no longer ignore it. Why do we do that, y'all? Why do we do that? The second reason, while pain can be helpful in alerting us to something in our body, in our spirit, in our soul that needs our attention, prolonged, unresolved, unattended pain can be an annoyance that calls the shots and ruins our quality of life. Hence, the rush to get over it, to just move on, to hurl yourself into a project, right? Now that's our method, isn't it? For us high achievers, we tend to adopt that get through it as quickly as we can approach. But when we get impatient and don't attend to it, then what happens to us? That pain gets louder and more annoying. Now, it may seem like we've got it under control. It may seem like we've moved on from it because we're able to function. But the truth of the matter is, what we don't address never gets resolved. Masked pain just simply won't heal. The third reason why masked pain doesn't heal is because many times pain problems are rooted in deep set underlying conditions, originating from a completely different part of our body than the area where the symptoms present. Like when you get triggered by something in the now, but the origins are way back in your childhood or way back in your first relational trauma. And I know there's nothing more triggering than our intimate relationships. And I know that it's so easy to blame the man in your life now or the man who used to be in your life. But the truth is, he did not cause your pain. Under most circumstances, he has maybe bumped into it. He's caused you to feel it again. He said something that reminded you, that took you back into that war zone. But more times than not, that person did not cause the pain. You know what they did? They revealed it. They revealed it. They revealed what had not been healed. That first trauma, that first significant disappointment, that first thought that in your immaturity as a child, you didn't have a whole lot of bandwidth. You didn't have a lot of capacity. You hadn't been here long enough to have a different context than the one you arrived at that age and that stage of your development. And if the adults, the authorities, the people whose opinions matter to you did not help you correct it, if they did not intervene, then guess what? Your brain conceived that thought and wanted to send you more and more evidence, not to cause you pain and suffering, but to help you to avoid the pain and suffering, right? But now that we are adults, we have to address our pain from an adult perspective instead of letting our 5-year-old self, our 10-year-old self, our 12-year-old self continue to keep us in perpetual suffering. Okay? The fourth reason why masked pain won't heal is because medication may mask the pain and provide temporary relief, but the issue is it's temporary. Untreated pain becomes a chronic, underlying functional problem that is harder to resolve. Now, no diss on the medical community. No diss on the medical profession. Some of us would not have the quality of life that we do have if it were not for doctors, okay? For the medical community. But the one thing that I'm learning the older that I get is just because a medication may make you feel better does not mean that you are getting better. It may mask the symptoms, but it's not resolving the symptoms. Look at the opioid epidemic right now. The opioid epidemic, these people didn't start taking opioids to get addicted to them. But what did they find out? That over time, they lose their potency and they have to take more of it or take it more frequently in order to try to get the relief that they need. And the more they kept taking these medications, the more dependent on them their bodies got. And so now we've got a bunch of people who are addicted to prescription medications and they don't know what to do. So I've looked at their example. I've looked at my own. Y'all, I've never been a person to have a lot of headaches. But for some reason, I've begun to have quite a few headaches. And they've been so debilitating. Not to the point that I've had to like draw the shades, cut out the lights, and make the room completely quiet. But to the point that I was having this underlying, not pounding, but just pain in the back of my head that was just intense enough to be nagging. Oh my God, there is nothing more draining than a nagging pain. In the beginning, you can kind of deal with it. You can busy yourself, you can kind of ignore it. But when you get still, that pain, that won't go away, it really starts to drain you. And I went to specialists. I went to neurologists. I had MRIs done. I had workups done to rule out an organic reason that was operable. But guess what? Even when I went to the specialist, the best that he could do is prescribe me something. I bought it, but when I read the side effects, I said to myself, by taking this, it may make my headaches go away, but the toll on my body, my other organs, it's going to create problems where there are no problems. And that's what can happen when we do the very same thing. We seek to mask our emotional pain. And we wonder why down the line it comes back. And the things that we used to could do to make it go away aren't working anymore. It's because it's become chronic. It's become chronic. The fifth and final reason why masked pain will not heal is because the cause of acute pain is clear, especially if it accompanies let's say an auto accident or a work injury, an infection, an operation, or an event that you can pinpoint. But the longer you go, the more dulled you are. And it's often very hard to pinpoint over time. That's why it takes more than studying, y'all. I have stacks of relationship books. I mean, I went to the library and I was checking out 7 to 10 books at a time. And while it helped me to become more knowledgeable about my pain, it still didn't heal my pain. So a lot of you are in the knowledge mode. You can tell folk what's wrong with you. You've done enough studying. You've gone to enough events. You've talked to enough professionals. You've gone to therapy. You know, you know what's causing the problem. You know it. But just because you know what your problem is does not mean that you are healing it. Sure, it makes us feel real good when what used to elude us and confuse us and leave us scratching our heads trying to figure out what the heck is going on. It is a relief to know what it is. But how many of you know that that alone is not enough to heal the pain? And now a special announcement. If you've tried to do love on their terms and it didn't work, I've got the answer. Love on Your Terms, a free 5-day masterclass that takes you out of the passenger seat and into the driver's seat where you belong. To learn more and to sign up, go to SuzetteSolutions.com. That's SuzetteSolutions.com. It's September 12th through 16th. It's free. It's now. That's SuzetteSolutions.com. I look forward to seeing you there. So that's why it takes something a little bit more intentional. It takes something a little bit more rigorous. It takes work to penetrate our denial, to penetrate all the layers we have on top of it that has dulled our senses and our sensibilities to it. And even though for many of us, we find a lot of fulfillment, a lot of satisfaction in what we have accomplished, and rightly so. Nothing brings to the surface what we have not resolved like our intimate relationships. You can think you are the best thing since sliced bread. You've done your self-work. You can even think that you are authentic with a capital A. But intimate relationships show all the cracks that in your self-adulation you didn't fix. But let me tell you something. I got some good news for you. That's what great love has come to do. It's come not just to reveal the cracks, but to heal the cracks. It doesn't just want to stroke your ego and put a man on your arm so you can say, hey, here's my boo. Hey, listen, don't y'all sleep on us 60 plus women. Baby, we know we got a man too. It isn't for that. It wants to love you from the inside out. That's why your terms have got to change. The conventional masking your pain approach to love, it doesn't work. And even if it provides temporary relief, guess what? After a while, it's not going to work anymore. As a matter of fact, quite the contrary. It puts you in perpetual pain and discomfort. Just because that pain, that level, that little nagging pain is tolerable right now, the more you have to wear a mask, the more that you do that, after a while, the part of you that's being neglected is going to have a fit, and the old conventional ways that used to calm it down, it isn't going to work anymore. It's like a baby being hungry, and you give it a pacifier. At first, that's fine. They suck on that pacifier. It gives them satisfaction. But after a while, they spit that thing out, and nothing but a bottle will do. And that's the way our pain is. We can give it a pacifier. And that's what masking it does. It gives it a pacifier. And it might make us feel like we are resolving it. We've moved past it. But just as sure as the analogy I just gave you, one day it's going to come calling, and it's not going to accept the pacifier. And you're going to have to really figure out what's really going on. You're going to have to really address it. You're going to have to do the work to heal it. And I've heard, and as I'm sure you have, where people say in order to resolve the pain, you have to go through it. And I know what they mean. You can't avoid it, right? I get that. But does that mean that I have to keep going through a painful divorce to resolve it? Does it mean I have to keep having one failed attempt at love after another to resolve it? I think not. Then I've heard someone say that you have to allow your heart to break. You've probably heard it too. Someone I know and love has said that. And again, I understand that you have to allow your heart to hurt. You have to allow it. That's an essential part of healing. But you can't stop there. Because at some point, you got to heal it. Breaking your heart is the exact opposite of what you want to do. You want to heal it. So I've come up with a formula because I found that pain that most of us high achieving women over 40 need to resolve is whether we're enough or not. That is the untreated, unresolved wounding from our past that we have not gotten over. We've gotten over divorces and we've rebuilt our lives. We've gotten over abuse and started nonprofits to help other abuse victims. We've gotten out of bankruptcy and cleaned up our credit. We've done the work to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and to help some folks along the way. But we haven't resolved that nagging question that has become a chronic condition. That question, are we enough? And can we be trusted? Now, I honestly don't think it's the men in our lives that we can't get over that's the source of our pain. I think it's the fact that we allowed them to do what they did. That's what we can't forgive. That's what we can't get over. And there are those of you that you got violated, traumatized when you were really, really young. But you still can't forgive yourself that it happened, even though intellectually you know that you were too young. You didn't know. You didn't know that Uncle Willie was a pedophile. You didn't know that the man that you used to pass that sat in the front of the store was going to follow you. You didn't know that the neighbor whose doorbell you rang was going to harm you. You didn't know, but yet you still haven't been able to forgive yourself for it. What I learned a long time ago is that the people who wounded us aren't doctors. They don't have the skill or the ability to heal the hurt that they've caused. They don't know how to heal soul wounds and heart wounds. Only trained professionals can help us with that. So if you're waiting for the man in your life to come back and admit he was wrong, that he was stupid, he was pig-headed, self-indulgent, then you probably won't get it. If you're waiting for the opportunity to tell him the damage that he caused, why he needs to feel bad, why he's lower than a snake's belly, in the hopes that somehow or another you'll make him have a conscience to the point that he won't do it again, that he'll apologize profusely with crocodile tears. Even that, even if he did that, it would not undo the wounding. That the longer it goes unattended, the more desensitized and the more chronic it becomes. Knowing this forced me to find a new way, a more effective way to help women resolve their pain and their pain story. I'm not a therapist to help you go back and find exactly when it happened. I'm not a hypnotherapist to help you to remember what's tucked away in your subconscious. But I am a woman who went through 2 traumatic divorces, feared losing custody of my only son, went into bankruptcy, lost everything, including some friends whom I held dear. I got humiliated, reprimanded, cussed out, embarrassed, fussed out in the courtroom, blamed for things I didn't cause. Only thing I did was acknowledge them. I've been down and out, not knowing where my next was coming from. If anyone was unforgivable, it was me. How could I have made the decisions to get me where I was? How? But there I was. But despite that, I reclaimed my dignity, my self-respect, and yes, I answered the question posed to me, am I enough? I was able to answer it, yes. When the question was posed, can I be trusted? The answer was yes. And because I was able to navigate my way to my own rescue, my own answers to those questions, I am able to help high-achieving women to do the same. Until then, I want you to remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are more than enough. Bye now. You have just listened to the Enough Factor podcast with your host, Suzette Vernon. To get notified of new episodes or to dig deeper into today's topic, become a subscriber. And while you're at it, tell us how we're doing and what topics you're interested in. We appreciate your feedback and your reviews. Until next time, remember, you are worthy, you are worth it, you are enough.